So there's obviously different degrees of that, but when you're constantly answering to others or other people's judgment, it can get very cloudy as far as what's forgivable and what's unforgivable. Mm-hmm. It's kind of when I go to, again, why is faith important? Because when you understand you're answering to God, you know that for God, everything is forgivable. I mean, it's in there. It says it. Mm-hmm. Jesus said it. There's no transgressions that you have that he can't forgive. I think when you understand that is when you can start to reach for that restart button. Welcome to the Lionz Den, episode 37? 38. Yeah. Again, my name's Eddy.
This is Daryl.
I'm Brad.
The last conversation was kind of serious, so I didn't get into it. If anybody is wondering what this weird thing I'm drinking, yerba mate.
God bless you.
Yeah. It's South America, real heavy Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Brazil. Mm-hmm. I guess you would call it a tea.
Okay.
But lots of caffeine, super high in antioxidants, a lot of minerals. Not advocating it. Just
what's it called again?
Yerba mate.
Yerba mate. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's not bad at all.
I'm gonna put that in my notes.
It's kind of like a tea. Seems to be really healthy. Yeah. Started reading about it, and I was like, I've been doing coffee a lot.
Same.
You're a big gallon of coffee. I was trying to slow that down a little bit and wanted something higher in antioxidants, a lot of vitamins. But it was interesting. So anyways.
Do you have to drink it out of the pipe-looking cup?
You do. Okay. So nobody could see it.
Actually, I looked it up, and that cup came up.
Yes. Yeah, this is all loose leaf in there.
Oh, all right.
So normally tea, you want to steep. You don't want to steep this. So you pour, you drink right away. But the straw, it's called a bombilla. It's what strains it.
Got it.
So basically that keeps all that loose tea from going down your throat.
Okay. That's neat. Yeah, as soon as I looked it up, the cup came up several times.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm digging it. I'm liking it. I mean, I feel like a good energy from it.
Yeah.
You don't have the crash that you have from coffee.
Ah.
So, and like I said, super high antioxidants. It's not, I wouldn't go that far. I don't know. Are you a tea guy?
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah, so I think if you like tea, you'll dig it. I'm not a big tea person. It's good. I put honey in, so I actually found this, funny enough, for Daryl. I think it was GQ. And the title of it was, Why Is This Not More Popular in America? Mm-hmm. And there's a couple that have now put it in, like, seltzer water, all kinds of other stuff. There's supplements now. But in South America, it's like a communal thing.
Oh.
So I take the drink, hand it to Daryl, he takes a drink, and they kind of share it. So it's like a very communal thing. And that's really what the article is more about.
And that is why it's not popular in America.
That actually was the point of the article.
It's not germaphobe. You keep it to yourself, look at my own.
Yeah.
I'll grab my own bombilla. So, Eddy, it's not our podcast is not about mate, but I just thought I'd bring it up. I didn't want to bring it up in the last one because it was kind of a heavy conversation. But today, you're really not a gamer, are you, Brad?
No.
What about your kids play games?
My kids are weird. My kids like vintage video. They don't play games. They like to collect games and like to watch other people play games.
That's a big thing. Yeah.
More so
watching people play games. Yeah.
More so my son. But he's a big collector of all things like 80s and has hordes of Atari games and Nintendo and Game Boy and Sega and and displays them, which is kind of cool.
So, Daryl and I are gamers. We play quite often. We're big Call of Duty fans.
Yep.
And the only reason why I'm bringing it up, I'm sure Daryl's been playing forever too. Were you a Donkey Kong Pac-Man guy?
Yeah, I've been playing games my entire life.
I do have a Pac-Man arcade game in my.
There you go.
Just
Since the first Nintendo, I've been playing games.
So I'm embarrassed to say I go back to Atari.
Yeah, Atari was right before me.
So
I was around. I just wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Warlords, Missile Command.
Yeah.
It's the shit.
The reason why I'm bringing it up is, a lot of people ask, and even when it's Daryl's fault and Danny, who's been on the Den before, that I got back into it because I kind of got to a point in my life that, hey, I could probably be doing something more productive than playing games all night. Like finishing my book, watching an interesting documentary. At any rate, peer pressure, end up getting it. We have a blast. It's fun. What's the appeal about it? People ask that all the time. Like, why the hell are you playing games? Like, it's for kids.
I don't see the appeal.
There you go. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
So, and we're not talking about gaming, but so I think the appeal with video games is you have a shitty game, you could turn it off and turn it back on and start all over again. So you have a restart in games. And where this is going with is, that's the appeal of it. You're having a bad game, you're having a bad day, you could just restart all over again. You're fresh. Last game didn't even happen. You're back to new. What we're going to talk about today is, can you do that with your life? So putting the game controller down for a second, is there a restart to life? Why would you want that? Can you do it? What does it look like? It's kind of what we'll talk about on this podcast.
Cool.
So not to ruin the suspense, the answer in my opinion is yes, there is.
Yes, definitely.
What that looks like, unfortunately, because we're humans, you can't quite just completely erase like the game, everything that just happened.
No,
it's true.
But you can definitely start fresh. And what that looks like as a human being is forgiving yourself, forgiving others, probably even more importantly. Understanding that people make mistakes, things happen. Let that shit go. You've made mistakes. We've had podcasts with addiction, all kinds of stuff. So we just talked about it in the last episode. We as human beings do all kinds of things. We do a lot of shitty things. We do a lot of shitty things to each other. We do a lot of horrible things to ourselves. And then you kind of are carrying that with you, day by day by day. And sometimes it feels like you just can't release that. You can't get rid of it. Them ghosts are just kind of tracking with you wherever you go. So it's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I don't know how you feel about that, Daryl.
I agree with you. I feel that you can restart. I think a big thing of restarts in life, because it's not like games where you can just cut it off and then come right back in, is knowing when you finish one thing and accepting that and starting new. So like if you're going through a tunnel, you can't just randomly in the middle of the tunnel say, okay, I'm not in the middle of the tunnel, I'm at the beginning of it, I'm starting fresh right here. You're still in there. But once you come out of it, whatever it is, okay, I've completed that. Let's take a moment, gather myself, and then let's start new. It's not easy to do, but realizing where you are in the process is one of the key things to starting over, I believe. Because sometimes if you want to start over before you have finished whatever it is you're going through, it's very hard to do because you still have things that are unfinished that's not allowing you to move forward. So identifying where you're at in the process is one way, is to me the first step in starting over, because you might identify that you're not ready to start over yet, and then you'll know where you need to get to so that you can start fresh.
You can definitely start over. I think kind of in your analogy, it's like there's no warp worlds. You got to go level by level to get to the end of the game, or to get to your destination. I recently got a lucky in love tattoo, and for the longest time I was unlucky in love. You know, I was that guy, and I talk about relationship stuff on here a lot. So I think in life there's a lot of restarts. I think on like video games where you power it off, wipe it away, and start fresh from chapter one, life you take those lessons with you. I guess it is kind of like video games, you know, like you learn, I need to jump here instead of jumping here, or, you know. So you have to go through those growing pains to move forward and move along and to get a successful restart, I would say. So it can definitely be done. I think in my life I've had multiple restarts, whether they be with relationships or jobs or even moving can be a restart, relocating, and I think everybody should have
change of setting.
Yeah, you know, restarts in life, for sure.
So, I mean, the next thing I would say with it is, and I'll say why do you think that people have such a difficult time doing it and or feel like they can't? So I've done this, I've done that, hurt this person, hurt that person, nothing's going to make that ever go away, so on and so forth. And, you know, I think a lot of times people feel like what they did was so bad that it's unforgivable. And we talk about it a lot, you know, within this podcast, you know, why is faith? I just saw something recently about religion. I was listening to another podcast where, you know, how low, not necessarily faith, but religion is right now in society. You know, again, the reason why it's important to me is at some point you have to know who you answer to. And I'm not talking heaven, hell type stuff, eventual punishment. You know, I'm talking on a day-to-day basis in your life, in your actions. You know, and if you don't have that, and you're answering, in your world, you answer to your peers or you answer to other people, you know, I think that's where you get that, where you've done something that's just unforgivable. I can never take that away. I think when you understand that we're all human and we all have those things, so I've never in my life haven't talked to somebody who hasn't done something they thoroughly regret. Now, you know, of course, in the spectrum of things, there's people where I was like, oh, yeah, that one's serious, and that wasn't so bad. So there's obviously different degrees of that, but, you know, when you're constantly answering to others or other people's judgment, it can get very cloudy as far as what's forgivable and what's unforgivable. You know, it's kind of when I go to, you know, again, why is faith important? Because when you understand you're answering to God, you know that for God, everything is forgivable. I mean, it's in there. It says it. Jesus said it. There's no transgressions that you have that he can't forgive. I think when you understand that is when you can start to reach for that restart button.
Yeah, I agree. I think to what you just said in the beginning of that is why it's so hard for people to do. I believe it is because starting over comes with a guarantee of being uncomfortable.
Definitely.
It's
no doubt about it.
If it's anything that's going to go with any kind of restart, is that level of comfort is going to change. It's going to not change for the better. You know, so you're going to have to go through things that you went through before that you probably didn't enjoy. You know, but you go through them for a reason. Again, you're going through it again for a reason. Maybe to get to whatever it is you're trying to get to. You know, I can't say what the reason is in every scenario, but it is going to be some kind of reason that you go through it, or you may gain something that you didn't gain the first time. I dealt with a lot of restarts as a drill sergeant, where I would restart kids, and they're adults, but restart young soldiers in the program as opposed to sending them home, and it was very case-by-case scenario. And one of the things you would see is that when we do restarts in that scenario, we have a list of expectations for each phase of training. And we can give you credit for whatever trainings you completed, and then we will try to restart you to the phase that you needed to complete. So you don't have to do certain things again. But if I would remember you doing like the things and you weren't really to my satisfaction, I'll restart you as a day zero restart, meaning that you come in just like everybody else getting off the bus. Yeah, you've been here for 4 months, but we determined that you needed to restart at day zero because although you got through it, it wasn't sufficient. You could use that training again. And that's a hard pill to swallow.
Oh, for sure.
For
sure.
Because you've been here, you already did the gas chamber, and now I'm telling you, like, yeah, you're starting over, and you're going to do that shit again. Like, but I did it already, yes, and you're going to do it again. So that level of uncomfortable comes with that.
Definitely.
You're like, fuck, I already got through that, and you didn't get through this other stuff, so now you're going back, and you're going to start over. So I get it. Even when I was telling soldiers that, I'm like, shit kind of sucks. But that's the way it comes. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. Granted, this time maybe you will do better, and then you'll move on in your career. That's what we're hoping for. But you got to go back through the suck, And I've been through that. I've been through some courses where I had to do them twice, and it sucked. But at the same time, I wanted to get it completed. So
no, I'm not sure how it works. Is there such thing as you don't do a restart? You just punt them out?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So giving them a restart is giving them another opportunity.
And that's what I would break down to them.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, the alternative is you go home.
Gotcha.
So I nominated you as a possible restart, and we have to have a meeting and a discussion. Why is he, he has potential to continue to move forward, but he does need to do this stuff again.
Gotcha.
Or he got injured because sometimes it would just be based off of injury.
Yeah.
Got injured
finish.
Doing this, he couldn't finish. I don't want to restart him at that same point because he has to build back up to it. So if I restart him at that same point of what he already completed, he's just going to fail again because the next gauge is going to be even harder. So say we did like a 6-mile rush march and he twisted his ankle and then he took some weeks off. I'm not going to put him right back in there where he comes back. He's been off for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. He comes back and he has to do a 6-mile ruck march that week because that's setting him up for failure.
Sure.
Because he needs to do a 2 or 4 into that 6. So he'll come back. Like that would be for me a day zero restart.
Gotcha.
So you can do the 2-mile ruck march. You can do a 4-mile ruck march after that and build back up and have a better chance of finishing that 6-mile ruck march. So it's done for their good, for them to complete what they need to complete. But when you hear that, like, you messed up on the 6-mile ruck march, you failed, you rolled your ankle, took some time off, so I'm starting you back at day zero. It's a slap in the face.
Oh, no doubt about it.
It's like, what the hell?
Yep.
I don't want to do that shit all over again.
Well, I was like, it was that or I send your ass home. And then it's kind of get some understanding at that point.
Right.
So it's hard though. So that's where I had that experience where I'm like, hearing it sometimes can be really, really hard because somebody's telling you like, yeah, what you did doesn't really count, but it does. You just need to do it again.
Sure.
I think, like you said, I think there's a lot of fear in restarting. Most of us like our little comfort bubble. Even though you're not happy there, it. So in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, I can restart. I can put this aside, start fresh, start new, whatever whatever the analogy is in your situation. But I can tell you the fear and whatever you're convincing yourself that is scary is nothing compared to staying in that spot. So moving forward, doing a restart of sorts or relocating or changing jobs or, for me, I'd much rather do that than stay in a complacent, unhappy place and just always wonder what if. So a restart is an excellent way to almost psych yourself up for that next chapter or a change. And you could restart a lot. It could start with diet and work and all sorts of, where it's almost a complete transformation. And there's some power and validity in doing it that way.
Yeah. I also think restarts keeps us humble.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? If you reach here and then all of a sudden you're here, and you have to start making that ascent, upward in whatever craft, field, hobby, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's something that kind of like, okay, I was doing great. And here I am on the bottom again. That's what golf is for me. Golf is a restart. Every freaking swing. Because soon as if I tee off great, soon as I pull up to wherever my ball landed, that shit is old news.
Right. No, it definitely is that game.
It is. I'm restarting every time I line up behind the ball. It is. It's brand new for me. How is this gonna go?
Definitely.
So that's one of my golf snuck up and became a passion. I've been playing for years, but I didn't love it like I love it now because I look at it differently. I look at it as that, man, every hole is a different puzzle, and then every swing is a different, challenge inside of that puzzle. So it's just restart after restart, So when we play, I'm like, oh, that was a good round. I may have had like 3 or 4 good holes, and I'm gonna hold on to those because next time I play, it doesn't matter. So I like that golf keeps me humble because I'm constantly restarting.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely, and you asked me earlier if this was good. Right now, it's delicious. My mate I'm talking about, those I can't see, I think I'm catching the bottom of the honey.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's just getting better and I'm getting a little caffeine buzz. So if I get a little loopy, that's why.
I expect like bubbles to come out of it when you put it in your mouth. Just,
some real important points there. A big one, like, as you said, definitely the fear is what stops most people. Like you said, people can get very complacent, and we talk about it a lot. The human condition has a shockingly high ability to adapt, even when it's not good, not comfortable. As you said, you're not happy, you're not fulfilled in your life. Our adaptability is through the roof as mankind, which is awesome. I mean, that's how we've survived. The drawback on that is, for everything that's good about it is bad, because we are highly adaptable, which means you learn how to sustain in a relationship you're unfulfilled in. You learn how to stay in a job you're not happy in. You keep friends around that you no longer have a connection in, because we're very adaptable. The other good thing, real good point of mentioning is happiness. So why should I restart? Why do I want to deal with that fear? Why should I go through this? And if your goal isn't to be happy in your life, and I would even take it further, more importantly, understanding that you deserve happiness in your life, that's where you really get stuck at. And majority of people I talk to that are desperately need that restart, that's usually where it's coming from. They just don't feel like they're worthy. They don't feel like they deserve to be happy in their life. Almost like the unhappiness that they live in, or the unfulfillment they live in, they've earned in some way, shape, or form. They've done something, or they're not doing enough, or whatever the case may be, and just feel like they've earned it. And that's hard to change for people. It really comes down to trying to convince someone that everybody deserves that. Everybody has a right to that. Everybody should definitely be setting a goal to be happy and fulfilled in your life. I don't know what you guys think of that.
I agree with that. Like, everybody should want to be happy in life, and sometimes that restart is the path to that. So if you can kind of hold on to that, like if you have to restart, it's on the path to happiness, that's a good motivator. It's hard to probably understand that in certain scenarios, because like you say, you're going to be uncomfortable in that scenario. So if you're downsizing on a home, and then you're restarting. It's hard to say, okay, I have to build back up. It is true, though, that you're there, you're on that path upward. But acknowledging it and grabbing it and making it real is the hard part, swallowing that pill. But that's a good thing to think about, because if you desire happiness and you're leading that path to happiness, it'll help you get through that restart to me.
I think we talk about self-worth, and a lot of that kind of goes to what you were saying into this. If you're aware enough to know that you're in a place where a restart would do you good, it's going to do you good. If that thought is crossing your mind, and like I said, it could be a downsize, a relocation, a job, a relationship, whatever. If you're in this rut, and if you're even feeling a way of like, well, I did X, Y, and Z, and that's why I'm here and I deserve to be here, you can't punish yourself forever. So you take a breath and figure out a way to kind of step out of that and move forward. And taking that first step, it's difficult and it's a tough road. We've all gone through it to some degree. I know I've been through it, and I can 100% tell you that the road at the end is far better. I'm in a far better place than I was 10 years ago. And I did all that. I downsized, I relocated, I tried different jobs, I did all this different thing, relationships, and my life is a zillion times better than I ever hoped or could dream or plan. But it took kind of a shock, and it took good friends, and it took trial and error, and it took a ton, but it took that restart and a lot of restarts along the way to get to the point to where I'm at. But you need to do it. You need to take that first step. No matter how small it is, you need to do that.
Yeah, and I would say, a big, especially if, there's something in the past that, you're having a hard time overcoming, especially if you did something to somebody, I would say start with that person.
Yep.
I mean, if it was 2 years ago, give that person a holler. Sorry that I did this, man. This and this was going on. Can't apologize more. Sorry I did this to you. You may get told to F off. You may get told to rot in hell. You may get told whatever. But, at that point, you're kind of releasing that. If it was a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, who cares?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what starts that healing, because it needs to be said. It needs to be said for yourself, because you hurt somebody, either intentionally or unintentionally. So I think for your soul purpose, that you have to apologize. And for all that person's been waiting to hear that for a year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really starts that release, and that's kind of the trigger to that restart. I think a lot of people don't do that because they're so afraid of what that's going to look like or what that person's going to say to them. And I think that's why it's important to understand. That's why I kind of said earlier, you answer to God and you answer to yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, that's who you're accountable to. I mean, who's going to lay judgment on you. Nobody else can do that. I mean, people can certainly have their opinions. People can hold their grudges and all that. You have no control over that. The only control you really have is how you manage yourself. We've all done things we've regretted, and we've all done things we wish we could take back. It's part of life. I think most people understand that. And what I will honestly say, I guess I should stipulate depending on what you did to the highest extreme. But, if that person was who you thought they were, they're going to accept that apology. Now, again, it doesn't mean that, you're going to be besties all over again or get back in a relationship all over again or whatever, but it'll mean something. It'll have some gravity to it. But I think that's usually what stops people is there's a laundry list of things they've done that they feel horrible about, and now I'm a shitty person, I don't deserve happiness. I don't deserve to be. Honestly, I think with faith, that's the big thing that people really struggle with is they feel like they don't deserve it. They don't believe that they were created by God because I suck as a human being. So how could have a God created me? And, the reality is we were all created by God. So we all deserve that happiness. We all deserve that peace. We deserve that. And God gave us that ability to say, wait a second, my life isn't where I want it to be. I've made some mistakes. I've gone left when I should have gone right. I'm going to stop this right now and turn back the other way. That's part of the evolution. That's part of our growth process. A lot of times what we're talking about in these podcasts are those very things. And, people get just such in a rut of self-sabotage. We've all seen it where we just abuse ourselves and absolutely convince ourselves we're unworthy of it, or so afraid of, if it happens, if they're in that, if they meet that guy, that girl that they wanted their whole life, they're going to figure out that they're actually a really shitty person and leave them. I've heard all kinds of crazy stuff from people. So, that's a big part of it.
Yeah, that is. The circumstances and other things surrounding around the restart is a big part on there. But like we said earlier, it's the road to success. If you look at anything that anybody or anything that was successful, whether it's a business, a certain product, there's several restarts in this path to what we know of it as today.
No doubt about it.
Telephones, automobiles, telephones, anything. It is not what that person or that creator envisioned initially. Because a lot of times our theory, what we think something is, will be on the right path, like airplanes. We want to be able to fly, and we can use motors to do it, and aerodynamics. And if you look at some of the first drafts, they were horrible. The Wright brothers found out they were horrible and through a lot of injuries and stuff. And then they had to go back to the drawing board and then come up with a better plan, because what a restart does let you know is what doesn't work. So that's the positivity in it. You're like, okay, so we know for sure that what we just did a minute ago was not it. So we're gonna start over. Excuse me, but with that information that didn't work, so we're not gonna start there. Okay, we're gonna start on a new path and not go back over there because that was unsuccessful. And if you go into it like that, like a scientific approach to it, it's easier for us to make those adjustments and those changes and to do better for ourselves and our family or whatever it is that we're trying to do if we have to start over. Just look at it as, okay, I know that doesn't work.
I think if you're looking for a restart, a good place to start is also church. Church.
Definitely.
Yes.
Can be any church, really, and that's about, you can restart at a different church. If you go to a church now, you can think, well, I'm going to try this one.
Definitely.
And you're going to learn stuff or meet people and find different ways and find out that, we do come from God and that you are forgiven. And ultimately, I think, like even you talked about, if there is a situation where you want to go back through time and make amends with somebody, I think we as people are much harder on ourselves than that person would be to us. Obviously,
always.
Depending on the situation.
Definitely. No, you're right.
But for most part, like we personally are going to be way harder, and you may go to that person and be like, hey, sorry for X, Y, and Z. I just need to clear my conscience, the air, that kind of thing. You can also confession. You can also pray in church, and kind of also that will help clear the air and get you kind of feeling better about your new restart. So
definitely.
Yeah. To caveat on that real quick, apologies. If you apologize to somebody, kind of like what Eddy was saying and what you just touched on too, I think a good way to go about that is to apologize without expectations.
It's the most important part of it.
So if I apologize to somebody for something that I did yesterday, years ago, whenever, they don't have to accept my apology. And my apology is not based on them accepting it.
Which is the key.
It's just an apology. I apologize for my actions at this specific time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If they still feel some type of way, they are entitled to that. You know,
sure.
I can't take my apology back because then it's not authentic at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just have to let that person or that group of people maybe let it marinate. Maybe it'll be in a few days, a few years. But the apology is the apology. And what comes back from it, it shouldn't be of your concern. Because if you do that, then it's not true. It's not.
I mean, I couldn't agree. So, I mean, quite a few things there. I mentioned the apology thing, being an Al-Anon and for AA, that's a big thing. You literally write a list down of the people that, you know, you've screwed over and that you start at the beginning and start making amends. I mean, it's one of the first steps that they do. And I learned that in Al-Anon. And I know from hearing them talk about it, you know, that how fulfilling that was, you know, what type of release that was. But to Daryl's point, you know, a lot of people think you're going to trick life. You're going to get over on life, that you're smarter than everybody else, or you found the cheat code to the game and you're going to do something and nobody else is. And, you know, again, when it comes to faith, you're not fooling God. You know, so it's so important on some level to be open-minded to a higher power, because you start to understand that, and I've seen people in every way, shape, or form pull it off. And I've seen people come pretty close, seemingly, and then it all comes crashing down. You know, to Daryl's point, when, you know, I'm going to apologize to this person, and I've had these conversations with people. You know, I was with, you know, Jane 5, that was the one that got away. You know, and I screwed up, I cheated on her, I did this, I did that. I'm going to apologize to her. You know, I feel really bad about that. And okay, that's awesome. And what if she tells you to go to hell? And it's just like they're crushed.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, yeah. And now all of a sudden they don't want to apologize anymore.
It's out the window now.
And that's because, like you said, it was disingenuous. The only reason why you're apologizing is to reignite that, re-engage that. It's a good moment in your life that you're trying to get back in. You think that apology is the doorway. You know, what people don't realize, and that's actually a good podcast of, you know, honesty. We get caught up because, again, we think we're smarter than them. So I'm really apologizing, and something to that person just doesn't feel right. They don't feel like it's genuine. On a soul level, on a molecular level, whatever the hell it is, people always seem to figure it out. And so it doesn't go the way you thought it was going to go or wanted to go. So that genuineness is really the beginning and end of that. You can't have any expectation. You got to go into it knowing, if they tell me to rot in hell, I'm apologizing. If we reconnect on whatever level it is, a friendship, a job, whatever, I'm apologizing. That's when you know that you're in that right place to genuinely do that. And you have to be very honest with yourself with that. You know, and to Brad's point, we all seemingly think that somebody else has figured it out easier than we've had. Or, you know, they got something that we don't have. We see it constantly. And that stops us a lot of times.
They got the cheat code,
Yeah, exactly. They got the cheat code. Oh, that guy figured it out. You know, I don't have what Brad has. I don't have what Daryl has. You know, he was able to do that. I can't. I don't have those same tools in my toolbox. And it's so, and I want to be crystal clear to anyone who's a super, you know, on top of their Bible. This is the Camilleri revision version of the Bible. But before taking Jesus down, you know, he said, "Hey, Dad, you sure about this? Do I really got to do this? Because don't sound super exciting for me. This is going to kind of suck. You know, does it really got to be on me?
Can I go clean my room or something?"
Right.
Yeah, some little stuff I could do.
Yeah, exactly. Every other kid just got to clean their room. I got to take the sin of the entire world on.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of bullshit. And I mean, the devil even tempts him with that and tells him, hey, you know what, Jesus? This sounds like bullshit to me. Why do you got to do this? You know, this doesn't sound right. And he leaves it that, you know, and again, I want to be perfectly clear, my interpretation, I don't really want to do this, Dad, but your will be done. So I'm not super excited about going up on a cross, getting whipped, spit on, mocked, carrying this shit. There's a lot of other things I'd rather be doing.
Right.
Much really not too crazy about this idea, Dad, but your will be done. So, and when we think about faith and especially religion, you know, if you're someone who religion is a means of power, religion is a means of control, you know, you hear a lot of times those things said about that. We have to remember, regardless if you believe that event actually happened or not, it's really important to understand, well, why did they put that in there? You know, when you really think about that, even when Father, why have you forsaken me? So that, you know, religion, Christianity, were to accept that Jesus was Son of God, came as man, God in every way. Why would you show that little chink of that questioning, that almost, I really don't want to do this, if we are all supposed to see him as God? Because it's kind of ungodlike when you think about it. Should be, yeah, I'm down, Pops. Show me the crucifix.
Family business.
Bring this shit on.
Yeah.
I'm down. I'm ready.
Yeah. And
I think that the reason why that is, and the reason why it was put in, was so we understand that he truly was human.
That's what I was
and that
say.
even Jesus had that moment. Even Jesus felt that. So none of us are Jesus. So I think we all kind of got that minimally figured out.
Yeah, that's some of my things I do know. List of things I know for sure.
Definitely not Jesus. So if he can have that and he can feel that, you have every right in the world to feel that. You know, I think it's an important lesson to learn from that.
Well, it is. I agree with that completely. I was thinking about the apology part of it too a little more, and in that I've noticed what apologies do to people before you even get it to the person you're apologizing to. Because in a couple of scenarios, I've made my soldiers write apologies to their family or to someone else's family. And a lot of times it cuts them up. And I hadn't even sent the shit off. I wasn't even going to send it off. I just wanted to do it for a reason. And it's really gotten, especially if I have somebody write their own family, you know, and be honest, tell your family, do not come to graduation because you will not be graduating because you have not done this, this, and that, and own up to it. So if your parents have, you know, tickets and vacation time, tell them to hold that shit. And I'm doing that to, one, spark a change.
Sure.
But two, also let them know that as of right now, your ass is not graduating.
Right.
So you might want to let your parents know.
And they need a restart.
Yeah. So with that, I've seen people break down just writing, you know, I'm sorry to mom and dad, you know, and it causes you to think a little bit more. It creates empathy.
No doubt about it.
And they haven't even given it to that person. So that's why I say, like, if you can just start the process of apologizing to somebody, that's a great, like, trend for a restart, too, because you're starting to develop that empathy. And you're figuring out what didn't work. So you're getting more and more tools towards success in whatever you're doing, using that as an example. And it came to me when we were going around the table. I'm like, I've actually seen people break down apologizing, and it's not even to the person yet. This is just writing down things that they have done that they were at fault at, you know, and it invokes a certain type of emotion.
No, I definitely agree with that.
I mean, I think that even just writing down, like, so even if you put pen to paper, you know, if you do something to take that step towards a restart, you're golden, you know, and then you continue, you take one small step and then another step, and then next thing you know, you started over. But that first step, you know, I think the only thing that, like we talked about, the only thing that holds people back is themselves, you know, in order to do that restart.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, in closing to Daryl's point, I mean, really both of what you guys are saying, the first step in that is that reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Is being able to stop for a second. Why is my life where it is? Okay, is it because I don't deserve it? Is it because I got a shitty hand in things? There's a lot of people who do. Messed up parents, messed up families.
Mm-hmm.
No money, or all kinds of things. People get a rough start a lot of times. It has nothing to do with them in any way, shape, or form. But you have to start acknowledging that and start reconciling that and understand that, no, that's definitely the case, but I'm not going to let that be the case tomorrow. I'm going to start moving in a different direction. And a lot of that is that reconciliation, that self-reflection of understanding that, this isn't what I want my life to be. In closing, I'll say, I'm not saying this is our only life. I'm not God. I don't know if there's resurrection. I don't know if we go to heaven. I don't know any of that type of stuff. To me, it's not relevant. I want to live my best life in this one. What I know for a fact, this is my only life as Eddy. I want to make the best of it. And I think that that's what you have to start with is I want to make wherever you're at in your life. If you're 20 years old, the next whatever you have left, the best you possibly can. If you're 7 years old, the rest, if you're 90, whatever the case may be. But we all can restart. We all have the right to restart.
For sure.
So, definitely start that self-evaluation. So thank you for everybody for tuning in.
Yes, thank you.
Again, share, like, subscribe, and we'll catch everybody on the next one.
Yeah, see you on 39.